Welcome back, darts fans, and welcome to the carnage that is Group A. We now have a lot of different results. Today we've seen every single possible result. We've seen a bagel for David Evans against Spellman. We've seen 4 1s, 4 2s, and 4 3s. But nothing as dramatic as what we've just seen with Brian Roman winning from 3-2 down to take his way to the top of the table once again. He sits there solely on 12 points, with Grbavac chasing, and Spellman and Bolton and Finn have got a little bit more to do, especially when we go into round number 4 of today. So first up, one of 2 scenarios will come to pass. Grbavac will go to 12 points alongside the Belgian, or Dean Finn is about to join Romeo on 10 points. This is very much a 5-horse race for the top spot over the next couple of days. Evans is cut adrift. But if some of these players don't play well at the end of today and early tomorrow, they may be cut adrift as well.
We did say that Mondays is where you kind of find your feet. Tuesdays is where you sit up for the kill, and Wednesdays is the day that you don't want to be making any mistakes. And so far, I mean, everybody's been punching. Nobody's been landing knockout blows, except for this guy.
140.
Romeo just out of the blocks. Even when he plays poorly, he still manages to find a few games that he can kind of knit together and put the opponents just behind the 8 ball. He's really been I'm not even going to call him a dark horse anymore, because he's clearly shown that his level of competition and just his competition play, he's had the very best thrown at him and has responded every single time. So testing him, testing his ability, testing his grit and his emotion on the Aki, he's answered them all. So certainly the player for me of the day.
81.
Yeah, best performance of the day, there's no doubt about that. But the interesting thing about round 3 was that Grbavac was able to win a match averaging 34 points less than his previous performance. If Matthew Edgar was sitting in your seat right now, Devon, he'd be saying that range is way too much. You've got to be a bit more Alex Spellman-like. You've got to have a tight range of top performance to bottom performance. So what we're going to do for the rest of the week is just keep an eye on what Romeo does in that regard.
95.
We know the ceiling of performance is there.
40. Game shot on the
and
first
we know
leg.
what he can do considering
Romeo
that first leg of
Grbavac.
this game.
Second leg, it's Dean to throw first. Game on.
I think you might be onto something with that game gap. When he's got 3 games off, he's less effective. He's had to wait
58.
1 game to come back to this, and he looks like a different player.
No doubt, it's managing that, and I think that's the experience that that Andy Bolton has. And if you've come here very often, you kind of understand that happens, because you're kind of thrown into the deep end. You're playing games rat-a-tat, and then there's a break. And when you experience that break, it's knowing what to do in that break so that you maintain that level. And luckily for him, he played against an out-of-sorts David Evans that could have nearly taken some points away from him there, and he has dropped some leg points, which will come into kind of question at the end. But I feel as though, like you say, that gap is really something he needs to take note of.
98.
Dean Finn just managing the game correctly, and I just feel as though there's a bit more push in his shoulder today than it was yesterday.
85.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Because he doesn't throw the dart, he pushes it, which is very much like Conor Heenahan.
100. Dean require 125.
This finish is called Hollywood. But Dean Finn is obviously a fan of Rod Harrington, because that was the way he used to go for it.
40. Romeo, you require 100.
He would have gone 45 tops.
This 103 can go. He'll go 11 and double 16. He's definitely
Game
got.
shot the
He's
second
done that
leg.
before, and
Romeo
you
Grbavac.
kind of know that when he's in that range, that
against Romeo to throw
116
first.
below,
Game.
117 below, he kind of finds a way to get a dot simply because he does everything correct with his first dot, making sure that that's the
45.
lead. And it's easier said than done, and his first dot definitely moving in the space, and that's almost the, what's the word? He diffuses opponents
85.
based on his first start hitting every time, because they see that first start land and then they know that it's going to be a 140 and a minimum a ton, because he doesn't miss left to right. It's always high and low just because he's so straight down the middle. It's fantastic to see.
140.
Grbavac recently made the last 16 of the World Masters in Budapest. He took out Ben Robb of New Zealand in the last 32 by 5 legs to 4, but he would fall to the Sweet Ferret of Sweden by 5 legs to 0 in the last 16. If he'd won that game,
140.
he would have faced one of the weekly winners in this series in the quarterfinals, in Kai Gotthard, who eventually succumbed in the final match to Wesley Plazier. This is getting a bit drastic now for Dean. All he can do is leave tops.
96.
But Grbavac has turned up here. He's on it again.
68.
That was a big chance for 3-0. I don't think he's going to get another chance.
Game shot on the third leg.
Being solid on the finish there, and Romeo nearly
fourth leg against
taking that,
Dean
but
to throw first.
just the level of play, and he's turned up, switched on. You can tell his little smirk and smile there. Certainly not happy that he missed, but it can tell you a lot about
60.
his confidence levels, and just knows that he's playing so well that he's going to get more opportunities, and he's hoping that he's going to take it.
134.
The relatively most important thing for D now is he doesn't want to be cut adrift here, because then, I mean, he's in the bottom half simply because of his leg difference. But I mean, he didn't play well back end yesterday, and he doesn't want to repeat that again today.
How are you on your famous Croats, by the way, Devon? Are you up on famous Croatian sports people?
Not at all. I'm not as well versed in as you are, Paul. I managed to focus on proudly South African moments mostly.
There's plenty of those.
We are dominating in the sports, not so much in the darts internationally, but yeah, on the continent definitely, and other sports. But yeah, give me some of your knowledge.
Well, Goran Ivanisevic, the famous left-handed Wimbledon champion.
96. Romeo Grbavac, 141.
That was a great story when he won at Wimbledon. Not the only
91.
Croatian individual to have won a Grand Slam tennis tournament as well. Marin Cilic won at Flushing Meadows a few years ago. Dean Finn looking for treble 19.
130.
Well, Romeo, hit tops with your first start. It would be an ace. Well, that's a fault.
6.
It's a massive fault. This game could have been sewn up 4-0, and Dean Finn counting his lucky stars, and just it's the luck of the Irish. It's now 2-all. You look at Romeo's game there, and you realize he had 2 dots for 76. He had 4 for tops. He's definitely giving himself opportunities.
140.
So he's losing legs that he should be winning, and he's going to start becoming more animated as you see it slip away, because he now knows that he's in the very top of the
44.
The league itself, and a win here will mean that there's a shoot-off or a shootout between him and Brian Ramon at the end, which is his closest competitor.
82.
Ireland's had some pretty famous sporting stars over the years as well. Golfers, athletes, footballers, rugby players.
97.
You name it, they've had it. They've had some great dart players too. The great Tom Kirby. William O'Connor. Steve Lennon.
21.
Keane Barry.
Romeo required 167.
The list is endless. What's happening here? That's happening here.
On the fifth leg.
That is sensational from Romeo
Grbavac.
Grbavac. The best finish we've seen this week
Sixth leg is
by
Dean
nearly
to
20
throw
points.
first. Game on.
That's a wild finish. He didn't even need to go. Dean Finn was nowhere near. Dean was closer to Ireland than he was to finishing that game. And the 167, that's just a little moment of brilliance.
140.
And it can, that tells you exactly the confidence he's gaining on that stage as
95.
he continues to move on. And the Achilles heel for him early on was getting to 3 and then kind of unraveling a bit. But you can tell he's certainly getting more comfortable on that Modus Super Series stage. He's now giving us the highlight of the day, Nico.
Arguably now the highlight of the week. We might go this whole week and not see a finish better than that. Numerically,
100.
that is probably the most difficult finish you can have on the dartboard. And now, he's put himself in position to win the game if Dean Finn does not take this 1-2-1. We haven't even mentioned Romeo's average in this game. If he takes this 86 out, he's going to be even better than he was in his second game of the day. Double 16. That puts him in a very elite category. Look at what he's just done. 4 out of 10 on the doubles. A 167. Check out in the penultimate leg. He's missed 6 darts at double in that match and has still averaged 109.5. Romeo Grbavac is for real.